And good morning. It's Wednesday, October the 30th. This month is getting away from us. Tomorrow will be trick-or-treating. A lot of those activities still going on all this week. We haven't listed yours yet. Please get that information to us so we can share that with everybody else. How do you feel today? Right now, 62, a little warmer than it has been the last few mornings. We'll get to high of somewhere around 85. Don't forget to join us coming up this morning. Jennifer Branning will be our guest as she runs for Supreme Court of the state of Mississippi in the election next week. We're also going to talk about what has happened. Crime. The city was overtaken by it last night, and you know that as well as I do. We'll get into all of that and the details of it coming up at 7 a.m. as we'll do local headlines. Join us for that. Last night was a mess, to say the least. We will get into all of that. Plus, we've got headlines from across America this morning. What is happening around the world, the U.S. of A. that shapes your world? We'll tell you next. Right now, let's go to Collinsville, straighten things out, and get us a good word for the day.
You know, friends are a really important part of our life. I think back to over the years, some of the best friends I had in elementary school, middle school, high school, and even college. I think of guys like Mark Basham, Dennis Wolfe, Brent Childers, Bill Massengill. All were great friends to me at that time in my life. But we must be careful whom we choose as our friends. You see, the Bible says in Proverbs 22, 24, and 25, it gives us a specific type of person to avoid friendship with. It says there, make no friendship with a man given to anger, nor with a wrathful man, lest you learn his ways and entangle in a snare. A person, you see, given to anger is unstable and often volatile. Conflict surrounds them. Their life is filled with drama and it easily escalates to violence. They're impulsive and they lack sound judgment. Typically, they leave behind a wake of hurt and harm wherever they go. You don't need that kind of person in your life. Not only will they likely cause you trouble, but even more problematic is the fact that you very well might learn to act like them to handle situations the way they do. In other words, you could become given to anger just like them, and their sinful pattern will become yours. So, beloved, avoid people given to anger, and certainly don't choose them as a friend. Friends are important, but the right kind of friend is crucial. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that. Already 6:34 as we begin this adventure today. What does today hold? I'm not sure, but we'll be here to walk you through it step by step throughout the day to let you know what's going on from our little part of the world. As I look at headlines, I see Oklahoma. When I hear the word Oklahoma, I think I was in college and had to watch a play called Oklahoma. Do y'all remember that singing? I always think of that for some reason. Oklahoma is suing. Well, actually, I think they're demanding payment. Maybe it's not a lawsuit at this point. They actually sent a bill to the administration, Kamala Harris, attention her, for $474 million. And go, woof, why would you do that? That would be for the immigration of non-American citizens that they've been forced to take care of. I doubt they get the money. Let's don't hold our breath together. But it's got her name on it. We'll see what becomes of it. Do y'all remember the strangest thing that's ever happened, which I still have trouble believing all that I'm told? Sometimes you're not told the entire truth, are we? Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. That would make her third in line when all of this went on, third in line to the presidency, which means it's a fortification wherever you live, whether you're at home or you're traveling, your home would be protected by Secret Service and other people. Do we remember how maybe a pizza guy just strolls in his underwear with a hammer? Yeah, I don't buy the entire story either. We don't know who, what, or how, but he faced a judge yesterday. His name was David DePape, D-E-P-A-P-E. Maybe I didn't pronounce that correctly. He's been sentenced to life in prison. Whoa. We'll probably never hear from him again and anything else about the event. Life in prison. They were both, well, y'all know the fact. We'll just leave it at that. It's very strange. You just don't get into the number 3 person in the United States in your underwear with a pizza and a hammer. It does not happen. Jennifer Lopez will be on the campaign trail this week helping Harris, if you didn't know that. We pass along condolences as we go to this headline. It always breaks my heart to ever have to tell something like this. Again, I'm not a football NFL watcher anymore, but regardless of that, I know that they're human as I am. A San Francisco 49 player, his name is Travaris Ward, has announced the death of his 1-year-old daughter. We send condolences to that family. They gave no explanation as to what happened, just that she had passed away. Our heart breaks for them. That is a very, very sad story to have to tell this morning, but nonetheless, it happened. It's heartbreaking. Now, there are all types of music out there, and I think most people know that I'm more educated in the world of country music. I know a little bit about blues, and those other ones I don't. Anybody ever heard of a guy named Shawn Mendes, M-E-N-D-E-S? He's 26. At a concert last week, he said, "I'm just trying to figure out my sexuality like anyone else." I could draw a map, but we'll leave that be, just in case you needed to know that. A Florida election worker has been fired. Why? They were taking ballots to the courthouse, loaded them up in the truck. It falls out of the car. Regardless whether it was a mistake or not, Florida has removed them from working for the election anymore. Someone saw it, picked it up, they took it to a police station immediately. My, oh my, oh my. We go to, this is one of those good stories, London, England, as we go across the pond. A woman was missing for about a week. She was finally found. She'd been snake bitten, couldn't walk. Thank heaven somebody got to her. She's okay. Do you remember we talked about this yesterday, the hiker that was, I believe it was in Utah. No, it was in Texas National Park that they found deceased. The way that was found out was a park ranger noticed that a car had not been moved for 2 to 3 days, still sitting. They investigated and then found the hiker deceased. Sad, sad, sad. Watch that. Always go in pairs. And I know some of these areas, like Death Valley, when you go off on these vacations, cell phone service doesn't work. Make sure someone knows who you are at all times. This is one of those rarities. You're rushing to the hospital. Your wife is having a baby, and it's actually coming. This would happen. I believe it was in Michigan. Detroit's where it happened. Police got after them, thought they were running, breaking the law. They did get a hold of 911, and the police escorted them to the hospital. A good ending there. But always remember that. If you've got an emergency, make sure to call 911 so they can notify the officers. Also, if you're ever in a situation where you go, "I'm not sure if that is an officer," call 911. Excuse me. They can contact the officer immediately to find out if it's real or not. When someone is scared, it's kind of hard to remember all that, isn't it? Robin, you got a good point on that subject that we just, there's lots of comments over there. I'll let everybody read those as we go back to that guy trying to just figure it out. My, oh my. You remember the ship that struck the bridge? We've talked about it several times to where he's going to have to pay at least, it's a ton of money. Baltimore, Francis Scott Key Building. As the trial continues with all this, he's trying to blame other people. Best I remember, it was a boat that struck the bridge. Kind of says it all, doesn't it? Think so. Case closed. Need some judges that think that way. Hora, Argentina. And I've never been there. I know a lot of you have who in their worldly travels. A hotel collapsed. One person is dead. Oh, boy. Luckily, it's only one person. This is shocking. We saw where Trump, over the last week, was on Joe Rogan's podcast. At one point, he said he'd never do anything to help Trump. For whatever reason, he invited him on the show. It worked out big numbers. Now, Vance is going to appear on the same show. Joe Rogan's big, whether you like him or not. Some do. He's popular. He reaches millions each day. Big audience there for him. I didn't realize this. Is this something coming back? Or I just don't know enough about it. Tuberculosis. I can remember seeing in years past, in the 20s, 30s, along in there, maybe it was up to the 40s, it was a huge problem for the United States. The WHO, who I sometimes go, over, have said that at least worldwide 8 million people have died from that. That's shocking. I didn't realize that number was that high. And maybe it's been that high all along and I just didn't know it, but that sure seems high. Sean Combs, P. Daddy, Puff Daddy, has more details. And again, as we say these, we have to remind you that it is accusations at this point. It has not been proven in a court of law. I think most people know that he's accused of a lot right now. He is now in a lawsuit, as we've heard the word minors, as low as 10 years old, of being sexually assaulting someone that between 10 and 17 years of age. Again, you're innocent until proven in court of law, but boy, things are mounting, aren't they? Do y'all remember the Wayans brothers? It's pronounced the Wayans. Funny. I loved all their shows. Do you remember the skit they did where they made fun of all of the scary movies? And I want to say Charlie Sheen was starred in one of them, scary movie. They're going to be making a new one of that. The Wayans brothers. Funny stuff. They really, really are talented. If you remember LaWanda, I think that was her name, who told everything. World Series, the Yankees defeat the Dodgers. So they're still in there. We'll see what becomes of it. They needed that win. This happened a few, maybe it was a year and a half ago, if y'all remember New York City, where a lady dropped off her child at a daycare to get a call later that her child was deceased, and it ended up being that the lady who kept the place, her husband, just happened to be a drug dealer. The child overdosed on something that was in the home. She has pled guilty in a federal court now for that crime. Sentencing is set to come. Those two things just don't mix. Be careful where you take your kids to. It's the most precious thing that you've got are your grandchildren. Make sure you know who they are and everything about them. Daycares, the entire thing. I'm not talking just about in-home care. I'm talking about daycare centers. I can't tell you the times that I read to where someone was found in a road, unattended. Make sure you know them. Again, that's our future. We got someone who's been sentenced to over a year in prison who, on social media, made threats of a mugshot that was posted of Trump. It's from Alabama. He'll spend a year behind bars. And again, for those of you who make threats, remember there's consequences. All of these things that happen to our schools, locally, nationally, if you make a threat, they will find you. Don't do it. It is real. It's not a joke. Yesterday we talked about, maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was Monday, the detective that was killed in New Jersey. They had arrested 3 people for the break-in, and it ended up being that he was a cop. Possibly burglary, or is there more to it? They've arrested a 4th person now. That's getting way, way serious there. Hopefully we'll find out more about that. Oh boy. This is one of those that makes you step back and go, wow, New Mexico. I don't hear a lot about New Mexico. Kind of quiet out there as we see that a woman has been arrested. She's admitted in court she did it. She's pled guilty to locking a man in a trunk and stabbing him with a machete. I've read somewhere this week to where a woman was charged with locking her boyfriend. Number one, how do you convince somebody to get into a suitcase alive? And she zip-tied him in. What was that song, The Games People Play? I don't get that. Never, ever do that. I don't care. I'm not touching that. Spain. I'll leave you on this note before we go to weather. Spain, we have 51 people who have died in flooding. Pretty tough there, isn't it? We got all your weather coming up next. We'll tell you when it might rain. What is the latest on that? We'll do that next here at the Scotty Ray Report.
When I was elected to the state Senate 9 years ago, my goal was to bring a new generation of conservative leadership to the Capitol to get things done. I'm Jennifer Branning, and I'm running for the Mississippi Supreme Court to do the same thing. I've written legislation to lower taxes and reduce regulations on farmers, manufacturers, and other businesses in Mississippi. On the Supreme Court, I'll use my experience and conservative values to always interpret the law, not to rewrite it or bend the rules for anyone.
Let's face it, accidents are going to happen. If a deer jumps out in front of your car, go see my friends and professionals at Chet's Paint and Body Shop in Center Hill. Chet can help you navigate through this confusing world of insurance by providing photo estimates to insurance companies and the right to choose the body shop of your choice. From a minor scratch to a major collision, Chet has you covered. Chet offers quality repairs by trained and certified technicians with a lifetime warranty on all repairs. That's Chet's Paint and Body Shop. Welcome back as we get this morning well underway, 14 before the top of the hour. Let's get into our weather now.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
Again, a little warmer this morning as we're starting this day at 62, where we'd been in the 50s earlier this morning around 3 when I got here. It was at 57. We've warmed up a good bit since then. All right, as we look at this, let's see what we've got shaping today. As we take a look at our record highs and record lows, 2016 was a warm year. We had a high of 91. Back in 1952, it was 24. We had several days of the 50s also, 1950. There is a smidgen of a chance there. 84 to 85 is our high today. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. As we look ahead to Alabama, we'll show that we have 85 moving in there. Montgomery about 83, Auburn even at 81, and should be somewhere around 80 in Birmingham, Alabama. We'll stay that 84 to 85 on the Mississippi side. As we look at our projected path over the next 6 to 10 days, we see that heat wave goes right to the Bama line at the Lauderdale County line, eastward into Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, and on up through the Carolinas as we watch that. Heat for this time of year. As we see today, it's going to be anywhere from 83 to 85. There's been several changes in the forecast of that 1 to 2 temperature change. As we look 64 for a low tonight, 83 tomorrow. We'll see 80 on Friday. Now, again, we're still sitting at 40% chance of rain tomorrow during the daytime. At nighttime, it will increase to a 50% chance of rain. And as we look at Friday, it's moved from a 20% to a 30%. It's not huge odds, but it's the best we have. Because you'll see as the rain moves out on Saturday for all these car events that we have going on. We'll tell you about that. 83 on Saturday for the high, and Sunday as well. Back to work, we steady out at 83 for 3 to 4 days. As we move all the way through the 13th of November, we sit at Wednesday the 16th, 83, 76, as we'll have a 42% chance. It's getting big there, isn't it? On the 7th of November. Oh, boy, let's go back and look at Election Day here. Sunny, 10% chance on Election Day, high of 83 next Tuesday. Not bad at all as we do that. A lot of times weather stops people from voting. We want folks to vote, so it should be good there. As we look at our best fishing times as we go out to J&J Auto Sales today, a major time is going to be at 11 o'clock today, about 10 minutes after. Should be good to after 1 o'clock, barely into that. Your next major time is after dark, but you do have a good chance right at dark, 446. Grab a line, you get a line, I get a line. Y'all remember that? Go down to the crawdad. Good fishing then. Now let's talk about hunting for just a moment of what we got going on there. As we go to Wimberley Taxidermy, we'll see that at 4:58, a minor time. Your best time today during the daytime hours is going to be 10:30 until 12:30. Doesn't really give a chance of it being good this afternoon, but as always, any time in the woods is a great time. But your best times to hunt today, 10:21 to about 12:21. Now, wind's going to be south 5 to 15, but gusty. If you're going to be on the water, expect it to be up to 20-mile-an-hour gusts. That's a lot. Backlashes, and also if you're in a tree, it blows that scent, doesn't it? So watch that, hunt with the wind if you're going to be out. As we look at what's going on with the tropics, we do see here, we still have issues there. 40% chance, and it's been kind of hovering at this the last couple of days. Hasn't gone up or down. We'll watch it closely to let you know when it comes to all that. Quickly, as we look at radar, let's see what we got this morning as we pull this up to show you. Meridian Honda radar all clear throughout the state of Mississippi and Alabama. Look at that. A little bit of fog there due north of Beaumont, Texas. And when we get into the Carolinas, look at this. A lot there around Columbia, Florence, Rock Hill, those areas there in South Carolina. Charleston, a little bit north of there has got a lot. So be careful if you're in those areas watching the weather today. But let's just back out. There is a rain smidgen. Look at this in the edge of Texas, Jasper, Texas. Weeks Settlement getting a shower. It's not big, but they do have a little bit of a shower. And look at this.
We'd take it.
Yeah, we would take it, would we, Greg? A little bit if you're in Kansas. And again, this is not big. It's cold up in the Colorados, but northwest of where Matt Dillon would hang out in Dodge City, there's a shower this morning. Just so that you know, we had to track it down. It ain't nowhere near us, but it's okay.
If you're there, send us a picture.
Yeah, if you're in the middle of a rainstorm, send us a picture so we'll know what rain looks like. Again, we have a lot to talk about this morning. We got a special guest, Miss Jennifer Breland will be in, who's running for Supreme Court, and we're going to talk about how crime took over our city for about 18 hours yesterday. Who was in charge yesterday? It was bad. Shootings. 2 children were shot yesterday. We got all the details coming up. Don't miss today's show. We're going to talk about that. That's all up and coming at 7 o'clock here at the Scotty Ray Report. Greg is in the house. A lot of great people on the way.